On today's episode, some troubling new info on the Tesla Semi is leaked, there's something wrong with the Cybertruck, and the Tesla bot breaks reality again. We've caught a rare and unexpected glimpse into the Tesla Semi program this week, while the company themselves have remained unusually secretive about the electric heavy truck. We have some new information coming forward through one of the first Tesla Semi fleet customers, an American transportation and logistics company named Ryder. Ryder was granted funding by the California Mobile Source Air Pollution Reduction Review Committee, or MSRC, to deploy a fleet of Tesla semi-trucks. The company originally put in an order for 42 vehicles back when the Tesla Semi was announced around 2017, with expected delivery around 2021. They are still waiting, which means they've had to keep working with the MSRC to extend their funding contract so that they don't lose the money they need to pay for the trucks when they do arrive. But that appears to have become even more complicated as of late, and that's where we join the conversation. This document obtained by the website Electrek shows Ryder asking for a 28-month extension that, in their words, is needed due to delays in Tesla product design, vehicle production, and dramatic changes to the Tesla product economics. These delays have caused us to reevaluate the current Ryder fleet in the area. The company says it will deploy 18 Tesla semis by June 2026 instead of the 42 initially planned, maintaining their $7.5 million investment. So there are a few takeaways from that. A big one would be the expected delivery date of June 2026. That would appear to line up pretty well with what Tesla has been saying recently about production at their new semi-factory in Nevada. It's worth noting that in October 2022, Elon Musk said Tesla would be building 50,000 semis per year by the end of 2024. So compared to that, this would be a delay, sure. But in reality, Tesla is aiming to begin first production at the new factory in the second half of this year. Then they need to ramp up production volume. So it depends on where Ryder might be on the list of priorities. Tesla still owes several trucks to PepsiCo. Then they've got some high-profile clients like Walmart, Costco, UPS, and DHL that have all been rumored to be expecting their own fleets of Tesla trucks. So if Ryder is being told to expect delivery of 18 semis in June, then that sounds like everything is going according to plan. Now there's price, which would appear to be the big reason that Ryder has chosen to either downsize or delay their Tesla fleet. Electrek took this as a sign that the Tesla Semi price has increased by 2.3 times what Ryder had been expecting, which would make sense if that price remains constant while the quantity drops from 42 to 18. But we don't know what price they were quoted because, again, Tesla has remained very secretive about the Semi project. We had initial estimates that the price for a standard range truck would come in around $150,000 or $180,000 for a long range model, which would make the price of a Tesla Semi very competitive with a traditional diesel truck. That was in 2017 dollars, so of course we'd be looking at something like a 25% price increase just to match inflation. And then there are tariffs, which is a continuously evolving situation, but will undoubtedly increase the production cost of an electric semi-truck, probably more so than any other Tesla vehicle, just based on the sheer amount of steel and aluminum, which are already heavily tariffed, and it's more likely that the heavy-duty high-voltage electronics for the Semi are coming in from China, which is about to be very heavily tariffed. But even with all of that considered, a price increase of more than double what the customer was quoted sounds way too high. It would basically sink the entire Tesla Semi business model if true. Enter Tesla Semi program lead Dan Priestley, who spoke up on X to push back against the narrative presented by Electrek, saying, "No change to schedule and multiple incorrect conclusions. The future is bright, electric, and cost-effective." Now, that's not necessarily a debunking because he doesn't say specifically what about the report is incorrect. The claim made by Electrek about deliveries being delayed is pretty sketchy for sure, but the questions raised about price are much more legitimate. Remember, this is coming straight from a Tesla Semi customer who cites, quote, dramatic changes to the Tesla product economics. That sounds to me like a very professional way to indicate that the price went up big time. There is just one company with a large Tesla Semi fleet right now, in addition to Tesla itself, and that's Pepsi with 86 Tesla Semis on the road to date, but there are quite a few pilot projects going on with different trucking companies. Just recently, Saya deployed a pair of Tesla Semis in California, and Watt EV started with 2 Tesla Semis with an agreement in place for another 40 units in 2026. We assume we'll see more of these customers coming forth, as Tesla is on track with finishing the Semi factory and starting mass production by the end of this year. When fully ramped, the factory should still reach Elon's goal of 50,000 trucks per year. Of course, Elon, as he often does, upped the ante by making even more ambitious claims about Semi production at an all-hands meeting last month, where Musk claimed Tesla will make millions of Semis, and of course, these will also have the ability to drive autonomously down the road. And speaking of big numbers, you might remember this one, 2 million. That was long claimed to be the length of Tesla's Cybertruck reservation list. 2 million customers. And then in 2023, Cybertruck deliveries actually began, with the product arriving just as angular as promised and packed with even more technological advancements, although coming in at a much higher price. Regardless, Cybertruck sales actually showed promise in the beginning, as it quickly became the best-selling electric pickup in the US. But the Cybertruck isn't doing too well right now. We have the production and delivery numbers for Tesla in the first quarter of 2025, and it was a significantly bad quarter. No news there if you've been following along. The Model 3 and Model Y deliveries, which Tesla pulls together in its reporting, are down from 369,783 in the first quarter of last year to 323,800 in the first quarter of 2025. That's nearly 46,000 units less than last year, a drop of 12.4%. And Q1 2024 was itself a particularly bad period for Tesla, down 9% from 2023 deliveries. So we're looking at a movement from bad to worse. But as we said, this part is not the real news. Whether it's due to the anti-Elon protests or Model Y product line retooling for the refresh, your guess is as good as ours as to the real reason why Tesla sales are down. But what actually caught our interest is the other models category on the delivery report. Other models at this point consist of the Model S, Model X, and the Cybertruck. In Q1 last year, Tesla delivered 17,027 of these models. And we know the Cybertruck was only starting to ramp up at that time, with 2,800 of these sold in the US according to Cox Auto reporting, so it was mostly Model S and X. This year, Tesla only delivered 12,881 of these 3 models total, a 24% drop. In fact, in the previous quarter, Q4 2024, Tesla delivered more Cybertrucks alone with 12,991. This was already down from 16,692 in the peak of Q3, which was also when Tesla said the Cybertruck had become a breadwinner, meaning that it was now profitable to sell one. Overall, the Cybertruck made 38,965 sales in 2024, making it the best-selling electric pickup and 5th best-selling EV overall in the US. We've known the Model S and X were slowly fading for a while. There hasn't been a large refresh since the Plaid powertrain in 2021, and that mostly just made the car faster, not meaningfully different. So that leaves us with Cybertruck. Now, we don't know what portion of these other models' sales the Cybertruck makes up right now, but any way you shake it, the numbers are going down at a time when they should be ramping up. We will know more soon when the Q1 report from Cox Automotive drops, but we already found something interesting from them in February. They write, Cybertruck posted price declines in February compared to January. That's a good indicator, but it won't change the fact that the Cybertruck is still a lot more expensive than the price that most of those 2 million reservation orders had hoped for. Cox Auto wrote, as sales cooled, the Cybertruck average transaction price in February declined by more than 10% from January to an estimated $87,554. That would put the average January Cybertruck price around $96,000. $87K is still more than double the $40,000 start price once promised in the unveiling. It's quite obvious that there is a limited market for the over $80K price Cybertrucks, and from the looks of it, Tesla might have exhausted most of that customer base already. So is it time to move forward with the lower price versions? The market would seem to indicate a big yes, but there's a big question around how Tesla could actually turn a profit at a much lower price point. Elon Musk has shared a new video of the Optimus robot that demonstrates a smooth new walking ability. Accurate actuators accelerate automation. Milankovic, the VP of Optimus, explained that in slightly more specific terms, writing straight knees, smoother heel-to-toe gait, and arm sway, just chilling around, entirely trained in simulation with RL. We also got even more details from a Tesla AI lead named Ashish. You'll notice that they're both using a lot of jargon here that wouldn't make much sense if you're not already an AI expert, so let's try and put this in terms that we all understand. RL in this context refers to reinforced learning, a machine learning technique where the Tesla Optimus robot learns tasks like walking or manipulation through trial and error in a simulated environment. So when they say learned with RL in sim, deployed zero shot to real, that means the robot was trained entirely in simulation using RL and then applied directly to the real world without any additional training, which is impressive because there's typically something called a reality gap, which is the difference between what works in a simulation versus what actually works in real life. So the fact that Tesla has bridged the reality gap so quickly is a very strong indicator that their robot capabilities are about to increase very rapidly in a short time.